Okay.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Virtual Cheese Awards. The class that we're about to judge, excuse me, is B1, which is the best Cheshire cheese. This is sponsored by a company called Christeyns Food Hygiene. They've been involved in the dairy sector for over 30 years. They focus on delivering effective and innovative solutions to support the safe production of foods of all type, but they have a particular affinity for the dairy sector and cheese in particular. So thank you very much to them for sponsoring this. Our two judges are Terry Hudson and Chris Dawson. If you would like to introduce yourselves, gents. Chris, you first, please.
Hello, my name is Chris Dawson. I'm the cheese buyer for Marks & Spencer's. I've been in the cheese industry for 18 years, and it's a real passion of mine and allows me to visit the best cheesemakers around the UK and Europe. So I'm delighted to be here this afternoon judging as part of the Virtual Cheese Awards.
Thank you, Chris. Terry?
Hello, I'm Terry Hudson. I've been in the dairy industry for 50 years. 30 years I've been judging cheese at various shows. I've made an awful lot of Cheshire cheese in my time, actually hands-on. So I know a little bit about Cheshire. So thank you very much.
Right, so it's cheese 1175 is first.
So appearance is white, bright, crumbly, quite open, which is typical of a Cheshire cheese. Cheshire cheese being one of the, or if not the oldest of the UK cheeses. You do read that it's mentioned in the Doomsday Book, but I've never read the Doomsday Book. So
Certainly it's not.
So appearance is absolutely fantastic, I would say. I mean, it's white and bright. There's no sign of mottling, no discoloration, open texture, nice and crumbly. So I would give that a 9 myself, but see what Chris thinks.
Yeah, I think it looks like a very well-made block Cheshire. It's, as Terry said, it's bright, it's white, it has a lovely crumbly texture. I would give this an 8.
An 8, right? Okay. So we'll split the difference and go 8.5. Are you happy to do that, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine by me. So
okay. Yeah, and the system will cope with decimal points, just not too many of them. Aroma.
So it's nice and clean. I'm not picking up any off flavors or taints.
I think it's fresh on the nose. It's clean, as Terry said. And I'm getting a hint of lemon and citrus on the nose, which is what I would expect to find in a good Cheshire. So for me, in terms of score, I would probably give this an 8.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yep. Texture. You said it's crumbly. We already said that. Open texture as well, which.
Well, it's got a beautiful crumbly texture, as you'd expect, which it's certainly different to the other crumbly cheeses like Lancashire and Caerphilly and Wensleydale. It's not sticky at all. There's no free moisture. So texture is superb.
Good. So for a score for texture?
I would say a 9 because I would think it's spot on for a Cheshire cheese.
You okay with that, Chris?
Yes, I'd agree with Terry here. I think it's a lovely crumbly texture. So 9.
Good. Now, true to character.
Well, I think it's almost perfect, really. I would say a 9.
9. You okay with that, Chris?
I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
But you know, it's a good Cheshire, and that's why I'm giving it an 8. You know, I may be tasting other Cheshires which are even better than this, so I want to just hold my judgment. So
Are you okay with that, Terry?
Pardon? I say you always get a better Cheshire when you're confronted with a block. Sometimes I think pre-packing this kind of cheese doesn't do it any favors, but I think this has been robust enough and well made enough to actually.
yes, I you know, Terry will relate to this comment as you all know, Bruce. You know, one will have tasted many Cheshires in the past which have a bitterness.
Yes,
and it's completely clean, and so it's a really good example of a good Cheshire.
So, what are you going to score it then out for true to character?
I'll go with Chris and give it an 8.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And flavour.
Flavour, well, I didn't have it like Chris said. It's a nice citrusy, lemony flavour, typical of a Cheshire cheese. It's slightly sharp again because it's a nice acidic, crumbly cheese. It's not too acid, not too sharp. It's not dull. So I would say flavour is very good. I would say another 8.
I concur with. I would give this an 8. I think it's a good classic Cheshire with the citrus notes that Terry talks about, and it's clean and it's really pleasant, and there's a nice balance of acidity.
Okay, got that. So we'll move on to cheese 1207.
So here we've got a waxed truckle. Historically, the cheese makers have used bandaged. They've used lard to seal it, but this one is they've used wax and they've done a very good job of it. There's no pinholes, so it's perfectly sealed. So appearance is very good. We'll have a look at the cheese inside. So again, it's nice white. It's a little bit close. There's no open texture. So what do you think about appearance, Chris?
I think it's okay. In terms of the waxing, I've seen better wax truffles, so I'd probably score it down in terms of, you know, mine's a bit lopsided, Terry, and it's a bit knobbly around the sides where the wax is, you know, isn't clean. But I think inside the cheese, you know, the cheese is actually it's very white. It's quite almost powdery looking rather than open texture. So
Yeah,
I'm a bit surprised that it's so. It almost reminds me a bit of a Lancashire crumbly. You know, it's tough. You know, it breaks up very easily. So
yeah, the texture. Have we finished appearance now?
well, appearance, I'd probably score it a 7.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because it hasn't got any open texture.
No.
It's probably difficult when you're making a tiny truckle, but we have to judge it as a typical Cheshire cheese, true to character, and it is a little bit close.
Yeah. What about the aroma?
Aroma. It's clean. I can't pick up any off flavors or taints,
Yep.
but it's probably lacking a little bit of the citrus freshness, acidic notes. I don't know what you're picking up, Chris.
Yeah, I've just gone back to get the aroma of the previous Cheshire, and I think for me, and whether that's because of the wax, I'm just getting a very, very mild aroma, and almost it seems to be lacking that freshness and acidity on the nose. I would probably give this 6.
6. You okay with that, Terry?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yep.
Agree with that.
Texture?
Texture is a little bit.
You said it breaks up very easily.
Yes, it's a bit sticky and happy sort of texture. It sticks to the fingers, when you do this, which it shouldn't do. Whereas the other Cheshire was nice and crumbly, and it didn't go together.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Again, I think the texture for me is not a classic Cheshire. It's very granular. It's I think for me, I'd score this down on texture. I'd probably give it a 5.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Yep. So true to character. Well.
I think it's a bit lacking.
Yeah. The comments and the previous scores would suggest that.
Yeah. Well, overall, I would say about a 6.
Yes, I'm happy to agree with that.
Yep. And flavour?
For me, the flavour's lacking compared to the previous sample that we saw. It has less lemony characteristics. I'm getting a slight hint of bitterness on the back of the palate. So for me, this is probably a 5 in terms of flavour.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Okay. Right, that's that class. That's the end of the judging for that class, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Give you a chance to have a tidy up, and then we'll prepare for the next one.